Game is up, Val'Myren. You'll pay for the pain you've caused. Welcome back to Dark Deity on Steam. I'm Thae'lanel, Lunar, Nebula Gaming. And we have captured Henry Val'Myren, Sloane's father. The pain I've caused? This is no children's story, Captain. Death is a daily occurrence. Why not benefit? Anyone mind if I finish the job before the evil speech? Please do.
No.
It should be me. Sloane. It doesn't have to be.
Sloane. Ah, my dear Sloane. Look how strong you've become. Only took the combined strength of your friends to best your dear old dad. You'll never be worthy.
Finally.
I've seen many brutal things.
That will make the list. It was so fast, I just basically missed it.
He deserved it. I'm proud of her.
What is most difficult is sometimes most necessary. Come, the dawn is breaking. Our troops will be arriving soon. Help me clean this up. We'll be staying here for a couple days. They say if you don't give a monster a proper burial, you risk it returning from the dead. They didn't teach us how to do this in Brookstead. No, they very much did not. You should check in on Sloane. She seemed to have handled herself quite well. Can't say I know that's true. Either way, that's your job now, fearless leader. Do you ever plan on not annoying me? I've really been giving that some thought, actually. And no, I don't. Good to know some things never change. March on Sojourn. Well, goodbye, Henry Val'Myren. Save time. Too bad we couldn't get those 3 treasure chests. I did not play that as perfectly as I could have, I suppose. I think what probably would have been the best is have Helena as, you know, with her giant fortitude stat, basically try to snag all the Henrys into the middle, if possible, from the various areas they were at, and then try to sneak around with Elias and the other really fast people. But oh well. Anyway. Hey, do you have a moment? Oh, sure. Is everything alright? You haven't seemed yourself since, you know. Sloane? Do you remember how they looked at you?
What?
What do you mean? After Sterling's death? As if I were about to burst into tears. Or flames? Right. Hard to forget. I've been getting those looks since yesterday. It's making my skin crawl. I hate to say it, but you'll get used to it. That, or they'll forget. Maybe a bit of both. I know, but actually, that isn't really an issue for me most of the time. It's fine if you need some time. Gods know I did too.
No.
That's just it. I don't need time. I'm ready. They're all looking at me like I should be hurting. Like I should care that I just killed my father. But I don't. It means nothing to me. I feel nothing. You can't know how desperately I want to understand why you're looking at me that way right now. I guess I've just never had people who cared like this before. Surely your nurses cared for you. They cared for me, but they didn't care about me. Everyone around me has only ever seen me as a means to an end, and I think I've done the same. But I care about our friends. We're in uncharted territory, and I'm fighting every day not to lose sight of that. Look, I know this isn't my place to say, but your childhood did you every disservice it could have. Even in the time that I've known you, you've come such a long way. You don't unlearn 2 decades in 6 months.
I don't get it.
I know, but I still can't understand. What am I supposed to feel right now? I'm sorry. This was a mistake.
Don't worry.
Stop. This was not a mistake. To the abyss with how you're supposed to feel. You feel how you feel, and that's that. This is a better group to fight and grow with than I ever could have prayed for. but their expectations don't define you. You're going to come along at your own pace. I, for one, am impressed with how far you've come. Are you really? For all that, I've always been able to read people. You're like a slab of granite. I never know what you're thinking. Well, you aren't the only one that's built up walls. I found it's easier to break them down with help. So I keep hearing.
Yes.
But let me answer your question. Yes, I am impressed with how far you've come. Not long ago, you were this feisty, selfish thing yelling at us even after we rescued you. Now look at us. We're leading a revolution together. You're a central piece of it, and it has nothing to do with pushing a personal agenda. It's been a long journey, hasn't it? It has. I am more than thankful that you're still along with us. We couldn't be doing this without you, and in many more ways than your political station. Thank you, Irving. I think I needed someone to help walk me through this. Silly thing, that. Not silly at all. You're human, even if you're only now letting yourself realize that. Irving, I'm glad you could make it. Maeve wouldn't say a word without you present. Word about what? Have you made a breakthrough? Not exactly. I've just received explicit permission from the Mystic Council to share what I know. I see. Go on then. My council, along with the Order of Eternals, was founded in the immediate aftermath of the Calamity. Before the fall of the Empire, their members belonged to the same body, one that fulfilled a sort of combined purpose. It was called the Magisterium Arcana, and functioned as a sort of independent branch of the imperial government. Its members were some of the most widely respected academics of the time, charged with the study, application, and protection of arcane objects. Why the Order of Eternals was formed specifically to account for the aspects, I do not know. Vesta, do you have any knowledge of this? Not specifically. I'm hoping that whatever we receive back from the Order will help clarify that. Intriguing. No, I'm not quite sure how this relates to Akmenos or the staff.
Actually,
That's what I'm getting to. The grief-stricken sorcerer who created the staff did so just before the Calamity, after which it was stolen by a student with divine ambitions.
What?
Divine ambitions? What do you mean? Irving, there's reason to believe the legends of the Age of Ascension are more than just stories. It seems some incredibly gifted mortals were actually able to obtain elevated levels of significance in the astral plane upon excelling in certain areas of life.
It can't be.
Elevated levels of significance. It's true then? That each of the gods revered across Terrazale was once mortal, like us?
Sure.
If gods is the term you ascribe to them, then yes. Then did this student succeed?
I think not.
Quite the opposite. He designed a ritual, which he called the Rite of Ascension, to realize his ambitions, but it went terribly wrong. I believe it may actually be linked to the cause of the Calamity itself. And what do we know of this ritual? That seems to be the final piece missing in all this. The Mystic Council has no record of it, other than to say that knowledge is kept by the Order of Eternals. Vesta, does this spark anything in your memory?
I'm afraid not.
I know the Order has a highly restricted archive at Cosmere, but I've never had cause to visit it. I've already pressed them for anything that might help. I suspect if my superiors know anything of it, we'll be the first to know. Cosmere. That name has been tied up in all this before. All the more reason so much depends upon receiving word from the Order. I suspect Akmenos could be of great service to us in answering these questions if he could be compelled to help us. I suspect you're right. Elias, are we any closer to tracking him down? Yes and no. What do you mean? On the one hand, I found him. That's great news. You should have said something. We should be able to employ his own devices to get him to share what he knows.
Hold on.
Unfortunately, it's not so simple. He's learned a great deal about me from the time I've spent inside his machinations. With his knowledge of my weaknesses, I don't think I'll be able to face him alone. The only viable strategy I can think of would be to lure him out of the staff somehow. I wouldn't even know where to begin doing that, and at the very least it would likely require his cooperation. So much hangs on a few things which grow more and more unlikely with each passing day. Let's each hope for a stroke of luck or inspiration, or both. At this point, direct confrontation with Varric seems inevitable. I expect this knowledge will become essential soon. All right then. The odds have never been better, and there's no reason to believe they ever will be. The time to strike is now or never. Sojourn is completely cut off from its arms and provisions, and the majority of Delians are on our side.
Agreed.
My contacts inform me soldiers on the road are already deserting in droves. Once word spreads that the scourge of Val'Myren has been lifted from Canopy, every commoner east of the Dragon's Tail will be taking up arms to fight by our side. Even so, the question remains of how to take the city. The siege is the traditional choice, though with a city the size of Sojourn, it would be rather difficult. And take years. Could we pull it off?
If the garrison spreads itself as thin as we would to surround it, yes. But if they concentrated their forces, they'd surely be able to break through and reset the clock.
Only the common people stand to lose in sieges. Even tyrants keep their soldiers warm and fed. Besides, we'd have to account for attrition on our side as well. A direct assault is the only viable option.
Certainly, if we could defeat Varric, the city would fall. His command over his officers seems to be the only thing keeping his soldiers in service to him.
Would our forces suffice to get us to the keep in a direct assault?
I expect so, but we need to defeat Varric quickly to prevent them from getting surrounded and pelted from every direction. Time would not be on our side.
We've raced the Sandglass and won before. A direct assault is the best choice for the people of Delia. If we do succeed in opposing Varric, we'll need their support to rebuild. Again, it seems we're destined to take the path most fraught with peril, but I must agree. This is what justice demands.
When you're ready, follow me.
Lincoln, mobilize the troops for an assault as quickly as you can, and report back when we're ready. It's time to take this war back to the man who started it.
Okay. Do-do-do-do-do. Let's save. Alright. How many bonds? Oh, quite a few. Wow, okay.
It's a lot. Maybe we do upgrades and stuff first. Oh, we actually have more than 12k. I wish I'd opened all those treasure chests because we got one level 4 weapon token from the boss, which is pretty good. Could buy some more. Which reminds me, I do need to buy some more food for people. Thae'lanel, I think I give you away Vash's Sanguination. We'll give that to Irving instead, I think. Get some corn on the cob. Benji. Wait, make a run. Okay, no, we're fine. Benji. Where did you go? Did I already feed you? Okay, no, I never used your stuff. That's right. I want to give that to the convoy. Let's buy a few more corn. Inventory. Before I forget, Benji. Let's give you a crab cake away. And switch it out. Ooh, cheesesteak. Corn on the cob. There we go. And then garlic bread. Was that a stat booster? Dwarven stew is plus fortitude. Nice. Okay. Helena doesn't need it. Maeve, maybe? Iris? Sloan, maybe? Liberty, maybe? Liberty. Let's get rid of the sparkling mead for dwarven stew, I suppose. And then jar of milk is plus 2 defense. We have several people we could give that to. Probably Irving, though. Let's do that. And then we'll get rid of the pride one. Wait, aspect of the moons. That might be good, actually. Well, if we don't care about his defenses, since he has so much HP, we actually might do aspect of pain on him, but we've seen that that's usually a terrible idea, so mastery and luck. Okay, well, Thae'lanel. Get rid of Vash's Sanguination. We could make him better at fortitude, but I think defense is actually what we want. We could give him Ankara's Glow. Ah, yes. Let's give him Alundria's Drip. No, he also does magic. I was thinking of getting rid of magic on you, I think, actually. Right. So, we do use his magic attack, though, so I think I'm wrong there. Defense and strength, that might be interesting, but I think we just go with Vigmar's charge. And then with you, where is Vasha's sanguination? There we go. We'll do that. And then upgrades. What do we want to do? Can we make the felling axe better? Right, we need a lot of tier 2 tokens for things we want. That's for sure. I have one tier 4. We could make meteor better, but really it's like, eh. Astral Assault. That seems like a no-brainer, honestly. Sure. Bianca, what about you? Yeah, you're already fine. Mystic Volley, man. Use that pretty often. Okay. Maeve, you have the broadsword. Maybe we do that. Could make Conflagration better. Could get the Fire Whip. I think we make Conflagration better. Benji. I think we upgrade his Choctaw for the future. Yeah. Yeah. And then we get a bunch of tier 2 weapon tokens and things. Okay. I think we're happy with that. I kind of want to upgrade Ford's axe. Yeah. And Maeve. But Ford is usually more at the forefront of things. This does make his axe a bit heavier when it's drainier, but that's okay. Okay, so we've used those. Let's shop. Weapon tokens. We need a bunch of these. Okay, I think that'll be fine. We'll see. And then we have some more options. So, for Lincoln, we generally want to do the war pick. Right? The flange is nice, but war pick. Keep him alive. Okay. It's now a piercer. Corbin, Shiv, definitely should be upgraded. There we go. It's now a push dagger. Alden, you're fine. You upgrade your Mystic Volley. Mystic Barrage. We could upgrade Flange, but not. We could upgrade Fire Whip. Not going to worry about it right now. Upgrade the Choctaw. Good. Uchikatana. Oh, still need to upgrade this. Okay, so we need more Weapon 2 tokens. Tier 2. Let's get 6 of those for now. That gives us a little bit of leeway. Okay. Get that upgraded to Mystic Barrage. We could upgrade the Pylon. We don't really use it that often anymore, to be honest. I'm going to upgrade that to Deep Lance. Could upgrade Arcane Missiles on you. Drain. It only has 2 power? Wow. Intriguing. Fenton. Upgrade this, since you're pretty bad at hitting things. Okay. Faust, we can get the War Pick upgraded if we want. Promise. Transfusion. There are options here. I think we upgrade Promise, since we generally don't want her getting hit. That does make it heavier. So maybe that was not the best, but we'll do that anyway. Save. Bonds. Irving. Talk to Sarah. You've walked a long road since you started sending sketches of strange stones to a well-traveled elf friend. Yes, it has been a long road, for both of us. But a soldier is made for the road. And what is a princess made for, then? I wouldn't claim to know.
Sitting around looking pretty until she's married off, or waiting for a chance to make big decisions about the world from somewhere high and far away?
Not quite.
I didn't say that.
Surely not.
Maybe that's what some princesses are made for, but I never was. No, you've always led from the ground, side by side with those who would follow. Reminds me of a certain Sildarin boy I know. I guess we were both trained well. One way or another. That's something I've noticed recently. Life has a way of making up for lost training. Somewhat harshly, I might add. True, but we all come out the better for it.
Assuming we come out at all.
It's worth noting that we have so far. I see promise in that.
Yes.
I do too. There's no way around any of it, really. After all those drills, I thought the Academy would prepare us for all the trials we would face.
In some ways it has,
And in other ways, it never could.
that's to be expected. A life well lived demands the heart of a student.
And obedience to that heart. A higher obedience, no?
Of course.
Yes, and one I could commit to at least.
Indeed, so could I. Liberty? Hello, Aunt. What was Alistair like as a youth? I understand you two traveled together quite a bit.
Your father is strong in both stature and will. He commands respect just with his presence. The three of us, your father and our middle brother Roth, went everywhere together.
Huh.
No one's ever told me of Roth before.
Yes, well, sometimes things change. I won't pry. Thank you. Anyway, Alistair was born to lead. He really was. He was sentimental, but willing to make the hard calls. The three of us were capable of egregious violence, and were constantly called to perpetrate it in the name of public safety.
Sounds like a dangerous combination.
It was. Alistair kept me grounded. I could have drifted away as my powers increased, but he wouldn't let me. I feel grateful for that every day. Even if I would never tell him that, I expect he will keep my secret. I'm sure he already knows. He seems perceptive. He is at that. Roth and I got held to a higher standard as kids because Alistair was always standing out.
Sterling.
Sounds just like Sterling.
He was just like Sterling.
I would expect to feel sad about it, but truthfully, that makes me happy. It helps me feel connected to Sterling, knowing that he's just like Alistair. I'll have someone to look to remind me of him. You know, you remind me a lot of Sterling yourself.
Thank you, Aunt Liberty.
No. Myren?
Myren, I have to imagine there's some course I missed out on, where they teach you how to overthrow a tyrannical king. Not even close, but maybe you could teach it someday. That day is a long way off, if it even exists. Maybe. Are you ready to take this fight to the top?
I'm not getting any more ready standing around talking about it, but if it's what the others expect of me.
And what do you expect of yourself?
I don't know. I'd say to deliver justice to those who've suffered loss, but that seems so impossible now.
You're right. That would be impossible. We don't deliver justice by what we destroy. We do that by what we build.
Those are the words of a healer if I've ever heard them.
And I kind of disagree personally. I think that's more mercy and grace. Justice is destruction.
Anyway, moving on.
And were you expecting anything else?
No, in fact, I think that's just what I was looking for.
And I'm happy to oblige.
Maybe all I expect of myself is leave it all on the battlefield.
That way the rest is up to fate, or our friends,
Or perhaps some combination of both.
That's not a poor demand, but you'll never achieve it if you see it as a way to escape responsibility. You'll only do it if you allow it to become your responsibility.
That sounds right. I'll try and think of it that way. Myren, do you remember what you said to me before? About how much can happen in a year?
Of course.
Well, if you'd have told me a year ago where we'd be today, I'd never have believed you.
Nothing's quite as unbelievable as life itself.
That couldn't be any more true.
It gives me hope, too, that we might yet see an unbelievable victory. We might, but even if we don't, you'll never face another trial alone. All of us with you, no matter what threats we face. I know I'll be right there every step of the way.
You do have a good record of that.
I can't think of any reason to change that now.
Together.
Good. Neither can I. All right. But restorative justice is good. So I guess you could make an argument for that. Anyway. Oh there, Lincoln. Someone got your beard and what? If that's a dwarven expression, I'm not sure what you mean by it.
Sergeant's beard.
I mean, by the look on your face, I'd say you've got your boots on too tight. My boots are fine, thank you. Listen, why don't we sit back and share an ale? I must have a bottle lying around here somewhere.
No.
I don't drink.
You what?
Don't drink? No wonder you look so miserable. Now wait a minute. What do you mean you don't drink? Everyone drinks. I don't drink alcohol. Of course, I drink other things. Water, for instance.
Huh?
Water? Like horses? Horses, mules, donkeys, yes. They all drink water as well, Fenton. That doesn't mean I share their troughs. Well, whatever pulls your cart, I suppose. Have you ever even tried it before? When I was a boy, before I took my oath. And what was your oath? To steer clear of a good time so long as you walk this earth? Just yanking your beard. Do dwarves have any expressions that aren't about beards?
Don't mind if I do.
Plenty. Shall I start down the list?
No.
I'll take you at your word. Good times. Okay, who else? Aha, Sarah.
Lincoln, this march on the capital. I'm sure it must feel strange.
In the Delian army, they trained us to liberate occupied cities from hostile forces. I won't have any regrets about applying that training.
Then it's true. A commander's calm never wavers. You've never forgotten who you are.
No.
I should hope not. All that we've done. Perhaps it was the only way to truly fulfill my oath in the end.
If we prevail, the people of Delia will honor you for it.
And if we don't, it was still just. You've helped me come to see that.
You are welcome.
I'm glad to hear it. I think I needed that reminder myself. You know, the arenas of statecraft and diplomacy would benefit from a heart as true and courageous as yours. You should consider it.
If any beast can chew me up and spit me out 3 times, it's politics. No, my skills are best suited for the battlefield, while there's vigor in me yet.
And what if we succeed in establishing an era without need of war?
That seems about as likely as my political ascendancy. But if we did, I suppose I could retire in peace, knowing Delia has a faithful ally in the kingdom of Aramor.
Of course.
That it would, for as long as I'm alive to do something about it.
But perhaps peace is not such a bard's dream.
That all depends on what happens next.
Whatever that entails, we face it together, as allies and as friends.
You did promise to watch my back, if you recall.
I cannot fail my oath.
I try to be a man of my word.
Good. To battle then, as one army, with truth as our commander.
Right away.
Those orders I can follow with a clean conscience.
And I will follow them with you to the last.
Okay. Corvin. Elf friend. Might I ask you of your home?
Certainly.
Of course. I miss the Varroan Mountains dearly. My apologies. I mean more of your childhood than the locale itself. Ah, but the two are linked in my mind. Asking of one brings visions of the other.
Acceptable.
Understandable. I suppose either is interesting enough, if not equal in my intent to reveal. I was curious about your customs regarding the visual arts. Many know of my people's appreciation for such things, but I've never heard the same said of the Moon Elves.
Interesting.
An interesting question, if I do say so myself. I don't believe I've ever fielded a personal question about artistry. Moon Elves appreciate art, but my people have a singular focus. History is unyielding and covers all subjects. This means that there are those among us whose priorities are cataloguing important art. My uncle, Cormac, was such an elf. His studies lean towards the arts. But to my knowledge, not that he ever made much sense to me, he studied art in a purely historical fashion. He knew how to look for beauty and quality, but cared little for them save for their ability to help him catalog. Precisely. I think that our peoples could learn a great deal from one another. I think we all know that and simply don't want to admit it. I'm not so sure that this realization is consistent. I have heard unkind words spoken of the Moon Elves too many times.
How boorish.
Understanding and realization I have found come in different waves. They will understand one day. I hope so. I have a great deal of respect for you and your kind. And I for yours. The fear that the exiled are treated with has always struck me as strange. Who are we to judge other people's culture, when our own has a myriad of concerns as well? It has taken me many years to come to terms with the revulsion I bring everywhere that I go. People are afraid of that which they do not understand. That is simple enough on its own, but they also fear that which is different from themselves. These two together brew a hatred that burns restlessly. Too true. You have a kind soul, Thae'lanel. I hope you know that. Alethos says the same. And if he was a former mortal, then okay, that might explain why things are a little bit cuckoo sometimes.
Feeling inspired?
Come again?
Oh, just jotting down a few notes.
Our activities have become quite noteworthy of late.
This would make for a fine tale.
Only weeks ago I would have doubted whether the Temple of Kolis and Marsh even existed.
Now we've completed the trial of the soul.
I learned more in that single day about life before the calamity than I discovered in my entire lifetime. Do share your discoveries. I'm not sure I picked up on all that you did.
Certainly.
Well, first of all, the mere fact that Alistair knew about the trial and the aspects stored there is significant. Not to mention that Maeve piped up when he simply alluded to it. That suggests to me that the establishment of this trial, or perhaps its repurposing as a safeguard for the aspects, might have been a joint venture of sorts. In this case, one between the Order of Eternals and the Mystic Council, or whatever names they went by then.
Can it be?
An interesting theory, but one that seems to ask more questions than it answers.
But that is the only sure sign of discovery, and those questions lead to further still. Assuming the trial existed before the calamity,
What purpose did it serve? And what was the meaning of the passphrase? It seems more than likely to be referring directly to the aspects. Sounds like you've got your work cut out for you.
that is the historian's lot, dear Sarah.
More history is created in a single day than can ever be remembered. Then how can you ever hope to make sense of it all?
You don't. Just the events worth remembering. And believe me, there's no shortage of those either.
Of course.
I do believe you. History is a noble pursuit, really.
You would have taken to it, I think, if you gave it the time.
I was never afforded the privilege.
A moment, please.
Remind me, what were those chronicles you took a liking to as a child?
The exploits of Prince Eleusius the Just. Wait, are you writing that down?
Sure.
Yes, no use in asking you again in a few months' time.
That must mean I'm worthy of remembering. I'm honored.
I don't believe there's any dispute about that, Princess. All right. You know, Samara, I was thinking.
No surprise there.
I must write that down.
It's rather fitting that you came across Ellis Light when you did. With what your proclivity for healing magic and all.
It would still be gathering dust in the corner of the Aramoran treasury if it weren't for your research.
And your sister's curiosity, lest you forget.
If I remember correctly, she was equally curious about ancient cat droppings. What did you call them?
Ah, yes, the petrified feline excrement. Not such an uncommon treasure, actually. Many believe it to be of great medicinal value.
I'll take their word for it.
As is your right.
But it's true. All of the aspects have been a divine boon.
Certainly.
Quite literally so.
I still remember first learning to wield Ellis Light. Its power had to be wooed, almost. Coaxed out of its shell like a frightened animal. And then it flowed so freely, like water.
That was rather poetic. I think I'll write that down.
If you say so.
Of course you will.
Truly, Samara, you and your sister couldn't have given me a more fascinating object of study.
Nor a more important one for our time, I think.
You've done well.
I expect you're right. Okay. Alden Fenton. Fenton, do dwarves really live underground?
Aye.
Deeper than most men have ever delved?
Wow.
Isn't it cold and dark down there?
Not in the slightest. Terrazale's got a great big heart, you see, and it beats with hot orange blood. There's plenty enough of it to keep our toes and our forges hot. That's crazy. So the ground bleeds? If you cut deep enough. How deep would I have to dig to see it?
Varden's beard.
Ha! You're better off picking up where centuries of my forefathers left off, lad. No use reinventing a hole in the ground. That makes sense. I've got another question, actually. Ask away. At the academy, I also heard that dwarves drink too much. Is that true? That bears a right myth, lad. It's quite the opposite. A dwarf never drinks enough. It's not every day that a host of dwarves runs aground, but when they do, you can count on them drinking every tavern dry for miles. I think my aunt wishes she were a dwarf. Can't say I fault her for it, but I do wonder what makes you say that. Dad always says she drinks too much at family banquets.
Had a few.
Well, strong drink's not for everyone. Certainly not a youngin' like yourself. Best to steer clear for now. Myren usually won't even let me get near it. That's probably for the best, but don't fret. There'll be time enough for drinks and merriment.
Don't mind if I do.
And when that time comes, I'd be more than happy to help you find your way to a choice pint. Thanks, Fenton. I bet they make great drinks in Everhurt. The greatest. I'm starting to get rosy just thinking about them. Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay.
All right, Brooke. Looks like I'll never get that chance to prove you wrong. Actually, you don't need any more. You never did, I guess, but there's nothing to prove now.
I don't get it.
What do you mean? You aren't getting your titles back because you schemed or pined for them. It was entirely unselfish. What I didn't want was for you to spend your whole life desperately trying to get them back. And here we are, with that not happening. I can be happy with that if you can. I'm trying to believe that that's all you really wanted from this. I really am.
Fine.
And that's the good part. I don't need you to. Nor do you need to. We don't have to be friends. But I'm happy to know that you're not withering away. Thank you. What do you get out of this? Enough money to retire with?
Oh, come on.
You already have that, and then some. I've snooped around. I know what those Aramoran bankers are holding for you. You could have retired 5 years ago. I've been caught, huh? Nothing, really. I wouldn't know what to do with myself if I wasn't fighting. I get purpose. I get to do the things I'm good at, but actually help people with motives that aren't selfish. That's not nothing, is it? Guess not. I don't stop to think about it much. I just keep on moving. I guess I should apologize for how I've treated you, shouldn't I?
I don't know.
That's your business. I've had friends I loved more who treated me worse. Not this friend. I'm sorry I looked down on you. Sorry I didn't believe you could have my best interests at heart. Why don't we go check in on Monroe? I'm sure the shifting power dynamics have his head in a whirl.
You're not half bad.
Fair point. Maybe if we try together we can fit a single thought through that thick skull, eh? Let's not get too optimistic. Alright. Here is the plan the next time you go to a royal ball. Are you following?
Of course.
So, this boy you had your eye on before this all started, Roderick? You know you can never be with him. Too common. Well, yes, but how does this figure into the plan?
I'm intrigued.
The other one, what was his name again?
Surely not.
Dubico? He would never be interested. His family wants to build their holdings, not get their primary heir tied to the crown as a prince. His family wouldn't be interested, but what about true love? True love conquers all, or so most romantic young men believe. All it takes is a little push. Alright, fine. What do you want me to do? Well, Dubico knows that you're interested. You said that you've made that clear. Correct. They like to have the option of you even if they don't have you. That makes sense? No, but continue.
Guess I'll state the obvious.
All you need to do is make him think he's losing the option of you. Jealousy can be provoked well before it is merited, you know. And how do I go about doing that? You shower affection on Roderick in public with Dubico there. It'll drive him crazy. Roderick becomes collateral damage.
Unbelievable.
God, Sloane, how do you manage to turn courtship into life or death? Very carefully, my friend. What if it doesn't work? I don't know if I can bring myself to shame Roderick like that. Bring yourself to shame Roderick or don't bring yourself to Dubico's heart. The choice is yours. You're vile, you know that?
That's cute.
And that's only the first half of the plan.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Maybe we don't let Sloane out of her holdings in Val'Myren.
Your turn to spill, Thae'lanel. I played the good informant and told you about Orima. I have some questions now.
If I am able, I will answer.
I don't get it.
Why the interest in Orima? There are plenty of remarkable people among us. You seem to have particular interest.
If you must know.
Orima's story reached my people very early compared with most far-reaching news. We keep a special interest in powerful adepts.
Since their treatment abroad may one day become your own?
Something like that, yes. We heard of a man with unbreakable vigor, a fighting spirit not seen in centuries. These are the types of things we normally hear of our own kind.
And
One of our kind traveled to Oasis to observe him, stayed for a span of years, watching every single fight. When he returned with his report, the elders considered offering Orima a position of honor among the exiles.
that? I wasn't aware that was allowed. Has it ever happened?
It is an exceedingly rare occurrence, and hardly newsworthy when it occurs, but it does happen on occasion. In the end, the elders disagreed. I spoke on Orima's behalf after reading the reports.
You hold permission to speak at the Elder Councils?
I have been offered a position as an elder many times. It is an open offer, in fact. We live longer than most elves, but 400 years is hardly youth among my people.
And you declined, yet are allowed to speak your say regardless?
The exiled are not petty in the same way that the human kingdoms are. We respect wisdom and conviction from anyone capable of offering it.
Who decides who is capable?
A good question, young heiress. One I do not have an answer for. Okay. As in, it's secret, or as in...
You don't know how the process works.
Okay.
If I remember my lessons well, Thae'lanel, it's quite rare for one of your kind to venture so far from home.
Then you do remember them.
Yet you serve Maeve as her warden. Why?
Like the Order of Eternals, the Mystic Council concerns itself with sources of great power in the world. Naturally, they require those capable of understanding them. And who better to understand such sources than someone of great power himself? Precisely. As for my people, these affairs concern them as well. Forces so great concern all peoples of Terrazael.
Will you ever be able to return to them, your people?
Glory to the exile.
Yes, and if I'm given the opportunity, they will honor my service.
It would be well earned if they did.
You've come a long way.
And so should they honor you.
I'm not counting on that.
Are your people ignorant of your deeds?
It's not my people I'm worried about.
Your uncle, then.
Yes, he's chosen his ignorance.
And you fear not only for yourself, you fear for your sister as well.
Of course.
Of course I do.
From ember to flame.
Sarah, trust these words. In your hands, diplomacy is a sharp blade. Wield it with intent, and what you can accomplish by it might surprise you.
I appreciate the confidence you place in me, Thae'lanel. I only wish I shared it.
You will, in time. Okay. Monroe!
You know, you don't have to pay me anymore.
Oh, was I still paying you? I'd hardly noticed. Though I can't fathom why on Terra you'd go and make a volunteer of yourself. With what you're capable of, you could charge a lot more to the right buyer.
I'm not looking for the right buyer.
Ugh.
Suit yourself.
There's more to life than gold, Monroe.
Unfortunately, you're right. Far more. It's all rather complicated.
Not the way I see it.
Do consider sharing some of your immense wisdom with me, Lady Maynard.
What we're doing is hard. These challenges are more difficult than anything most of us have faced. Were we taking this on for personal gain alone, well, we likely all would have given up by now. There are easier ways to earn some coin. But we're doing this for each other. I don't mean just for our friends either. We're doing this for all of Delia, and then some.
I'm sure of it.
Noble. No, I'd say there's still plenty to stand to gain from this.
Sure, Monroe, but is that the only reason you're still here? The only reason you saw potential in this group?
I suppose I'm not sure.
Whatever you stand to gain, glory, new titles, gold, if Vera could promise it all to you for the small price of turning us over to him, would you do it?
Of course not.
And why is that?
He has to pay for what he's done.
Then you do care about justice.
Merrick's been a thorn in my father's side since he assumed the throne. My family's better off without him.
I should have known.
I see. Well, I guess I'm starting to see our new friends as family now. Maybe that's the best way to explain it.
Well, that seems a bit sentimental for my tastes, but I think I understand where you're coming from. You know, perhaps I can offer this. You've been more than a faithful bodyguard since we met, Iris. You've been, well, a friend. It's a strange thing to say, but it's true. You have my thanks.
Well, there's something I'd never
Thought I'd hear. And would you look at that? I already regret saying it. Incredible.
Can't take it back now. I heard what I heard. Just know the feeling's mutual.
Ugh.
Okay. Sia and Elias.
So, I've been wondering, Eli,
Wondering what exactly?
when you're going to get around to thanking me,
For what?
bringing us on the greatest adventure of our lives. We're historic.
I never wanted to be historic. I just want to live my life. You know that.
But what we're doing is magical. We've met some of the strongest, most intelligent, and kind people in the world.
We've made some of the best friends one can hope for. There's no doubt there. That doesn't change the fact that we could find ourselves losing them soon.
We're not out of it yet, but how could we fail?
There are a lot of ways. My pursuit of Akmenos has strained me.
Well, you know how I feel about that. You're pushing yourself too hard, and I wish you would rest more.
I know. We don't need to rehash old arguments. I need to do this, Sia. For all of us. But for me, most of all.
You're the best friend I've ever had, Elias. You're a heck of a man, and there's nothing in the entire world that can take that away. You have to stop holding what happened in art against yourself.
I still think about him, you know. The boy I left behind. I wonder what he's up to now.
Whatever it is, I'm sure you turned out just fine. A childhood heartbreak is nothing compared to what you've put yourself through. What you're putting yourself through now.
Yeah, I wish it were as simple as that for me. I'm not sure I've learned how to be at peace quite yet.
I'll be here until you do. After then, too. But you know I'm here for you.
I know. You're really the closest thing to family I have.
Well, after my extended absence, I think you're that for me, too.
Would you find it strange for me to tell you I love you?
Not at all, Eli. We'll always be family. I love you, too, you big goof.
I may not be ready to make peace with my past, but I think I'm on the way. You're a big part of that. Thank you.
You don't need to thank me for caring.
Aw, friendship. Okay. Helena.
You have marvelous hand-eye coordination, Sia. Gee, thanks. That's not the compliment gals like me normally get about their hands. Gals like you. I find this troubling.
This is fun.
Oh, I'm just poking fun. You know as well as I do that fun poked is often thinly veiled truth. I'm not sure I do. Then one day you might. Tell me, how would you describe gals like you?
Sweet name.
Barmaids? Serving girls? Gorgeous young country folk?
Aren't you clever?
And yet here we are fighting for something greater than ourselves. You are no barmaid. Are you no longer a monk because you left the monastery? A monk and a barmaid are two different things. One is an occupation. The other is a state of being. That seems overly generous to your own point of view, don't you think? Being a barmaid consumed my daily routine and thoughts. Now I don't have to do any serving. You don't have to do any monking. That doesn't mean I don't think about it, nor does it say the same for you. This is worth consideration. I must admit, the quality of your arguments makes it increasingly difficult for me to agree with you. I think I must have some subconscious biases towards serving folk. Everyone does. You're a sweetheart, and I can tell there are 1,000 thoughts swirling up in that head at any given time. But only a serving girl knows a serving girl. I see.
Okay. Liberty. And Vesta.
These youths are impressive, Vesta. I'm finding myself feeling that adventurous fire that I used to. Hard times craft hard people. I worry for them. They'll find a way out of it. You can't fight forever. Anyway, I wanted to talk about Akmenos. I have some ideas. Did you ever run into anything similar during your early days in Varroa? Nothing quite like that, but soul magic is hardly groundbreaking. I believe he's just taken it further than any other has been willing to. I've dabbled myself, you know.
The Eternals.
I do. You think the Order doesn't keep tabs on you? Sometimes it feels like they forget about us, who are out here, stationed at posts that went undisturbed for a millennium. Ah, but they didn't. I bet you feel grateful you happened to be there when you did. That's the problem with something like the Order, isn't it? It's only useful once in a lifetime, but you can be darn sure you want it there when it has the chance. I suppose so. I've been running over how to ask this without being disrespectful, and I think I've come to the conclusion you don't care either way. So, would you be willing to tell me about what happened back in Hal Fen? I've read the mission files, but they leave out nearly the entire thing. I spent my tenure in the Order wanting to make a difference, and I think I've at least partially modeled my attitude after what I've learned about how you used to be. Of course you have. My father, Ruad, wanted it that way for new members. What we did was heroic. The stuff they write stories about. What they don't write about is the number of people we had to kill. The number of friends we watched suffer and perish before it was done. They were this close, Vesta. The sons of Shamak came within a hair's breadth of destroying all of Hal Fen, killing thousands. I'm proud of the work we did to stop them. I am. I've never since felt the sense of purpose I did during those days. But I never thought I could do it again. Yet, here we are. I'm glad that I've gotten the chance to know you, Vesta. I'd kept up on your progress and thought I might like to one day. I'm glad I was right.
Interesting. Okay. Garrick.
Naren, could you spare a little patience for a nostalgic old friend? I'm afraid you used up your daily quota early this morning.
Right.
Still sore from that comment I made about your cooking. Do most women let you get away with things like that? No one lets me get away with anything. Women least of all. If I've exhausted today's patience, I might just have to eat into tomorrow's. Very well, since we're friends, what's on your mind? Do you remember that one night we both just been kicked out of the Hall of Experimentation for studying too late? I was studying. You were flirting with the mage's attendant.
So we were studying different subjects, but it was a clear night, and the stars were out, and you said, "Look, it's the Weaver's thread. I was born under those stars. That's why I learned to sew." And I asked you if that was all there was to it. If our destinies were just written in the stars before we were ever born, and now all we do is follow along like a wheel in a rut. And I said no. That's the whole point of the Weaver's thread, and the hand that wields its needle. We get to choose what we do with it. We get to choose the people we become. Yes, that's exactly what you said. What about it then?
What a joke.
Well, it still seems like a load of wish-wash. How generous. But I'm a lot closer to believing now than I ever was. More than anything, it seems the choices we've made which brought us here, to this point, I mean. All the more reason to continue making the right ones.
Are you sure?
I've never been the best at that.
It'll be all right.
No, but you're getting better. That's comforting to hear. Don't get too comfortable. There's still a lot of you can work on. No argument there. But I do have to give you credit, Garrick. When the wind picked up, you held your ground. You stayed with Irving, with me, with Alden. You helped us weather the storm. I think that was an excellent choice. Well, it's one I plan to continue making, like it or not. I like it. What happened to? There's a lot you could work on. Nothing. It's still true. Would you like me to make a list? No, I don't think I would. Nice. Okay, Elias and Samara. Push it. We need more power. I'm trying, Elias. I can't. I've got nothing left. It was worth a try.
This makes no sense.
Even channeling power together, we can't crack it. It doesn't make any sense. It's like there's some lock on them. Some law of nature that we're trying to violate. Probably trying to open the aspects. Laws of nature are just excuses for things we don't understand.
Charming.
Ah, so Renee teach you that? She may have suggested it once or twice.
Ridiculous.
We need to know when we're beat, Samara. We could be doing more good researching something else. We can't use two aspects at once.
This makes no sense.
Thae'lanel can handle three. Three! What makes him so different? Aside from him being an unstoppable 400-year-old super elf? I'm not sure.
Perhaps.
He's got great hair. It has to be the hair, right? How does he keep it so shiny? I think it's infused with magic, honestly. How else could it stay so beautiful even during battle? Seriously, though, it has to be the blood. Corvin could do 2, and he's a moon elf. Thae'lanel can do 3, and he's a sun elf. Everyone else we've tested can only activate 1. It's hard to argue against now. So what does this say about the sorcerer? He's got to be an elf. This is huge, Samara. I'll go pester Maeve about what she said in Shellabon's about the prodigy.
Charming.
That prodigy. Words. Good. Let me know what you find out.
Are you sure?
The student giving orders, eh? Darn right. Prithee, go on and do my bidding, pupil. And here I thought you and Sia weren't so similar. All right. Nobody else for Elias? Okay. And that will be our episode, dear viewer. Leave a like if you've enjoyed this. Subscribe for more gaming videos and Dark Deity. Have a great day, dear viewer.